Hello and welcome to Todd Talk, where insight meets inspiration. I'm your host, Todd Hiller. I'm an author, speaker, and longtime community leader, here to guide you on a journey towards fulfillment and balance. In every episode, we'll explore ways to fill life's emptiness, helping you uncover practical tools to create harmony, purpose, and happiness. Whether it's thriving in your career, nurturing personal growth, or simply finding joy in the everyday, Todd Talk is your space for real conversations and actionable advice. So let's thrive together, personally, professionally, and beyond. This is Todd Talk, and I'm thrilled to have you here.
The other day, someone asked me if I was angry and upset that I had to leave the fire department that I've been part of for so long. And so if you're new to my podcast journey or this podcast journey or my social media journey, if you're new here, here's the quick backstory. So I was the member of a fire department for 26 years. I was the deputy chief at the time that I resigned and left. I had been there since I was a kid, came up through the ranks as a cadet and a junior member, then all the way up through. I held every officer's position there was to hold except for chief and treasurer, technically. But I left and I resigned because it was in my best interest to resign, because the person that ended up in charge was never going to do things in a way that I felt was good and safe and productive for the department and the town. He and I were just never going to see eye to eye, and he was also not willing to budge on anything. His opinion was what mattered most to him, and he didn't want to hear anybody else's. I also think there was a little bit of a personal vendetta in there and a personal grudge because he doesn't like me, but that's all on him. It has nothing to do with me. His choice, his life. But someone asked me the other day if I was mad about leaving, and I said, well, of course I was upset when I left. I had been there since I was a kid, 26 years, more than half my life. I had been with the same fire department and the same company, and it was a fire company and department that my grandfather started way back in 1949 to provide service to the end of town where the firehouse is, because the other fire station in town at the time was really, really far away. So I said, well, yeah, of course it wasn't great. I didn't love leaving, but it was what was best for me. And it really got me thinking, because they said, well, I wouldn't be able to let that go. I would hold on to it forever, and I would hold such a grudge, and you're a better person than me. And I said, well, I'm not a better person than you at all. That, I told them be kind to themselves. But I said, I don't know any way that holding a grudge is productive, because in my mind, holding a grudge has always been like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Having something like that, this giant grudge, angry and hot and bothered and temperamental and just upset on your soul and on your heart for a long time and over a long period of time, is going to bring you to some really awful and really dark places. And it's not that I wasn't upset in the moment. Of course I was. It sucked, for lack of a better term, to leave something behind that I had been part of for so long, all because of one person and his unwillingness to change. But the idea that the grudge itself is something that was going to poison me from the inside out and have nothing to do with the other person was something I was not willing to give into, because that's how a grudge works, right? We let it fester in our souls and in our hearts and in our guts, and we get angry and we stay angry and we let this kind of wash over us, and it consumes us, or it can become all-consuming at some point. And if we don't learn to let it go, then how on earth can we ever expect to move on to a better place? If we stay angry and we stay hurt and resentful and all that kind of stuff, then we're never going to move away from that. All of our energy is going to go into the grudge at first. And then even once we start to move on, if we can't let it go and get rid of it and put it behind us, that negativity is always going to have a direct line to be introduced into us every single time we think of it and we bring it up. And I think everyday negativity is something that's super loud, right? We see it everywhere. The news lately is a giant source. If you need bad news, just turn on a news station, right? It sounds tongue-in-cheek to say it, but it's true. But there's also negativity all around us, social media and comparison and negative thoughts and, oh, I wish I had their life, and all that stuff that consumes us every day and that is right in front of us all the time. That is bad enough as it is. However, the idea of something that lives inside you, like in the terms of a grudge, is hiding beneath the surface of you personally. So 4 million people can watch ABC News all at the same time and all get the same piece of information and the same piece of negativity and the same dose of negativity all at the same time. You, personally, you are the only one who gets that hit of awful feeling and negativity and grossness and anger and frustration when you think about a grudge and when you hold it beneath the surface. Now, sure, could you tell your best friend or someone you love or someone who is your mentor? Absolutely. You can certainly share that with someone to help process and walk through it. But not everyone is getting that negativity. So this is kind of a different kind of negativity, right? There's the public-facing negativity, the news media and all that stuff that gives us all those things that we can all experience together as a larger group of people. But in the case of having something that you are angry about all the time and is continually festering inside of you, you are allowing that to live unconsciously below your surface. We have enough to do, you guys, and enough to give our energy to. Work, the kids, the drive, the car, the getting gas, new tires, the laundry, the dinner, the friend group, the play date, you name it. We have no shortage of things that consume our energy all the time. My daily balance has gotten a lot better since I've learned to walk away from lots of things, and not walk away like leave them high and dry. But I resigned from some boards. If you're a new listener here, this is the podcast and my social media and my speaking journey has a lot to do with my personal journey of things I've walked away from to bring a lot more balance and a lot more serenity and a lot more free time and a lot more positive energy to my life. But even with getting, kind of clearing off my plate a little bit, there's still stuff to do. My kids play sports. They are busy kids. They're busy in school. They are both in band. They're both on sports teams. They both belong to clubs and all this kind of stuff. So between that and the food and the dinner and managing the family farm where I grew up, where my dad still lives, and the farm chores and hanging out with my parents and my mom and my stepdad and making time for family events and my friends and the people I love, it's busy. It's still busy. But all those things use our energy, but they use it in a good way, right? We're using our energy to be productive, but it also grounds us because that is our real life. We can, yes, be busy. We can, yes, say, oh my God, another soccer game, 5 soccer games this weekend because we're going to a tournament, all that kind of stuff. But when that happens, that's a positive grounding experience for our life. We can look around and say, man, he won't be little forever. They won't be playing soccer forever. But yes, it's busy, but soak it in and enjoy that part of your life. But a grudge and holding on to something to leave anger in your soul every day on purpose is an all-consuming kind of energy suck that will just always allow negativity to creep in and never, ever go away. The idea of, how do I want to put this? Like energy economics, I guess, right? We only get so much energy to use in the course of a day. We only have so much energy to give to all the things in our life. So when all those extra things pop up and we have to give little bits of energy away to those things, we only have a finite amount that we're going to have in the course of any day. And yes, we can run ourselves ragged and become overtired. And yes, we can say, hey, I don't want to do anything, but I'm still going to pull myself up by the bootstraps and do this one more thing today because a friend needs help. All that stuff happens. But when it comes to something like energy economics, the expending energy is something that we need to focus on and remember that we are giving our energy to certain things throughout the course of the day. Everything we work on, everything we do, whether it's our loved ones, it's our family, it's our kids, it's our career, it's our day-to-day job, it's our activities, whatever it is, we have things to give our energy to. But a grudge, whether it's mental or emotional, even if something that you think is small and in the back of your mind, it zaps focus from our other pursuits, whether that's your family, That's a fire call, you guys. Hang on 1 second. I'll be back. All right, my friends, I'm back. How ironic that I started this episode with a story about the fire department, and then in the middle of it, I had to go to a fire call with my new fire department. So my father actually was the one who called it in too. So on the app that we use for the fire department, it tells who the caller was if that information is available. And it was my dad. So small, not panic, but small bit of trying to call him while I was running out the door. And of course, he didn't answer. It was not him. He is perfectly okay. He was just the one who called it in. But yep. So here we are. We're back. All right. So we were talking about the idea of energy economics and the fact that when you throw your energy at a grudge and you give your energy and let it go that direction, it takes it away from the other things in your life, and it takes it away from your focus on your kids. It takes it away from your focus on your family, your purpose, the things you're working on, or even if it just, it takes away from your peace. That's not something we want to do. We want to get away from that. So you can make small shifts. When stuff like that happens, refocus yourself, recenter yourself. Don't let your energy start trickling all the way downhill into that little pit that is that grudge that you have in your stomach or in the bottom of your soul or in your heart. Don't let it happen. Focus your energy on something positive. Literally think of something that makes you happy. Think of something that makes you smile. Think of something you want to pursue. Imagine yourself doing something you love. And these may sound like, super straightforward, but in the moment, a lot of times we don't think to do them, but they can bring us so far and really spin us around and get us right back on track. And so we're feeling like we're able to recenter. And when I left my fire department, I left for lots of reasons. I kind of explained in the beginning of the episode a high level, but I needed to serve in another fire department again. I couldn't just not help people. I have always been a servant with a servant's heart and always loved to help people and do good, and emergency services and emergency response has always been such a giant part of my life and a big part of my heart. I had to give my service, or I had to put my good faith and service and my servant's heart into another cause in some way, shape, or form. So I joined another fire department. And by letting go of what I had been through and letting go of the awful crap, for lack of a better term, that went on in my former department, I was able to channel that energy into a new and positive action by helping with this new department. I could become a new member. I had a new group of people to work with, to focus on, to learn with, to teach, and all that kind of stuff. So even though I stepped away and I became the quote-unquote new guy in this new department, they were really welcoming and really great and really open to the fact that, hey, listen, you've been in the fire service for almost 3 decades, so we welcome not only your service but your knowledge, and it's just been a really great thing. But if I had held on to that grudge, and if I had not been able to see past that anger and frustration that was me, the whole situation with me leaving the other department, I would not bring the same energy and the same positivity and the same help to the new department. I would be stuck back in every time I thought about the fire department. If I held on to that grudge, believe it or not, sometimes, like I said, little things and little changes can shift our focus and change our focus so much and throw us off balance. If I didn't let it go, anytime I went to a call or saw a fire truck, or anytime someone asked me about my former department, if I was still holding on to that grudge, the flood of negativity would be overwhelming. And I've seen it happen with other people. I've seen it happen with other people in lots of different circumstances, and even people who have left other fire departments or left other, opportunities, left other jobs. And when they don't let go, they bring that negativity into their new ventures, even if they don't realize it, especially if it's a similar one. So in this case, I left one fire department to join another fire department. Think of how awful it would be for everybody involved and for myself and my own energy if every time somebody brought up the fire department or every time somebody asked me a question, that negative flow of energy shoved its way back into my heart and my brain and my words, and that's what came out. Instead of me saying, yeah, I don't know. When people ask me about it, someone just the other day was like, oh, how's things in your old department? I'm like, I don't know. I'm blissfully ignorant. I have no idea. And they were like, well, you don't check in or follow up or see what's going on or if they did anything wrong. And I'm like, nope, I don't. I happily march forward with my new department. I happily march forward with my new goals and my new purpose and all the things I want to focus my energy on. And I don't allow that negativity and that grudge to creep into my life, because no matter how hard you try, if you hold on to that grudge, when somebody brings up the opportunity for your subconscious to sneak in a couple jabs about that person that you're really still angry at and you can't let go of the grudge and you can't let go of the situation, you will use that and they'll sneak their way in there even if you don't notice it. One of those Freudian slips, you'll just kind of sneak in the jab at the old department or the, gotcha moment where you're trying to get them in trouble or say something bad or make them look bad. That will happen. And by walking away and separating yourself from all of that entire situation, you allow yourself, one, to be better service to your new department, your new venture, your new job, whatever it is. And you also do yourself the good service of not looking like that guy or girl who really can't let go of something. Nobody wants to talk to somebody who's been holding on to something for 5 years and they've heard the same story and the same grudge, 26 or 27 times. It gets kind of old. So do yourself the favor of letting go and do yourself the favor of not holding a grudge. And when you do this, when you give yourself a fresh start where your service and your purpose are going to go from that point forward, man, you can really thrive when you start to do that. Because if you let go of all the negativity, and I think letting go of the negativity, this kind of just came to me too. When you have a grudge, so to speak, or you have something that kind of makes you angry and you won't let go of, it's never just that one little thing. Because if people asked you to explain it and gave you carte blanche and said, just tell me everything, I don't care how long it takes, I don't care if you have to use foul language, I don't care if the story gets off track 15 different times. If it's something you won't let go of and something you're holding a grudge or someone you're holding a grudge against, you will go on for hours because there are so many layers of explanation that happen. There are so many things that became wrongdoings along the way, and there's no easy explanation. There's no succinct explanation. It's just thing after thing after thing and wrongdoing after wrongdoing, and it just all piles up and adds up, and it makes you feel really heavy and gross. But it's there nonetheless, and if you don't get rid of it, if you don't set it down and you don't walk forward and you don't give yourself that fresh start, it's always going to be this huge, multi-layered ball of junk that you really can never work through or sort through, because every time you try, you just start going on all these different tangents and down all these different avenues of all the wrongdoing that happened and all the things that made you angry and frustrated. And I could have done that. If somebody asked me, hey, tell me what went on, I could sit them down and make them a whole pot of coffee and say, this is going to take a while, buckle up. And they would probably, make some faces and say, oh my God, you can't be serious. And I would say, yes, I am. But that is not productive, because that unraveling that pulling apart and taking apart all the different pieces that made us angry and frustrated will lead to an unraveling of how we actually feel about ourselves. And we'll get so consumed and so overwhelmed with the problem that, mind you, has already gone away. Holding a grudge, remember, means that the situation is already over. The situation has ended. So let it go. Once it's over, let it go and move on. Now, and again, I'm not saying don't take the time to feel it and work through it and talk through it if you need to, but don't cling to it and don't give away your good energy to negative and bad things that have already ended. Once they've happened, they're over. We can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? You got to let the smoke clear and kind of walk through things and work through things and get yourself to a good place emotionally and physically, and then let it go. And there's so much beauty and so much peace that can come from letting something go. It's so interesting to me that when people ask me about leaving the other department, how often they're like hyped up and ready and standing there like with bated breath and like right on their toes, bouncing in place, waiting to hear me launch into this massive tirade and unload all this ugliness. And there's so much beauty in saying things like, I don't know. And there's so much peace in saying, I don't know, or I don't care, or I've moved on, or I'm not interested, or that's a great question. It feels, I'm here to tell you, firsthand experience, it feels amazing when someone says, oh my God, well, like, what's going on up there? Like, give me the tea. To just say, I don't know. Like, it is such a succinct response, but it feels so emotionally light. It is like lifting 500 pounds in the air with one finger and flicking it and letting it fly off into space. It just feels so good to do it. So my call to action to you all is reflect on some things in your life. If there are places, and think if there are places you're giving negative energy, if there are places you are allowing your energy to go that it really shouldn't be going, if there is a cause or a grudge that does not deserve your energy, think about it. Think about what drains you. Think about what really pulls you down into that ugly place where you want to complain and you want to get upset and you want to just launch into that massive, screaming, shouting tirade about all the wrongdoings and all the things that went wrong. Think about that. Because we only get so much energy, right? Energy economics. We only have so much energy in the course of a day. So use it wisely and don't give it away to things that are either unnecessary or just all around negative. Because grudges, let's face it, will never be positive. Holding a grudge against someone or being angry at someone or not letting something go is not because it's a positive thing that happened. When something positive happens, we celebrate it and we remember it fondly and we have great memories about it and we let it make us feel all warm and fuzzy inside when we think about it again and again. You know, you think about escaping to this awesome little cabin you found and you went to with your favorite person in the whole world. You can daydream about that for the next 20 years and it will bring you so much joy. But if there's something that went wrong, if there's somebody that did something to you, there's somebody that forced you to leave somewhere, there's somebody that, you know, got you, you know, in trouble when you did nothing wrong, that's always going to be a negative. No matter which way you slice it, remembering that and calling that back up into your memory is going to bring you nothing but problems. So my call to you all is don't do it. And also, while you're doing it, reflect on the things in your life that do drain you. And if you're a person who likes to write, journaling can be a really great way to do this because journaling gives us I think all people can benefit from writing something down. All people can get their thoughts out a little more clearly when they write them down versus just thinking them in their head. Because this is not meant to sound tongue-in-cheek, but thinking is hard. Creating a big, long string of thoughts in your brain in this huge sentence is hard. Writing them down and giving them a place to live and putting them on paper where you can reread the sentence and go over it again and let them live is a lot better for you in the long run. And it's a lot easier to get your ideas out where they can stay and live and you can kind of make them a little more organized. So journal if you want to. And even if you don't want to journal, use those quiet moments of clarity to spot those pockets of negativity. And then if you find them, or maybe I should say when you find them, I have this really great thing that I've just discovered. I saw a video about it, and it has blown my mind of how simple it is, but two, how amazing it is for helping us focus, or me at least, and feel recentered. I saw this video that said find a spot on the floor or a spot that's in your immediate sight line and stare at it. And stare at it and stare at it and focus on it. And then set a timer for 4 minutes. And for 4 minutes, don't let anything come into your brain. Think of your brain as this clear black circle, or pick your favorite color. And all the thoughts and all the intrusive thoughts that are trying to bounce in from every single direction, keep them out. And when you start letting some thoughts in and your mind starts to wander and you start thinking about that inner monologue in your head, clear it out. Consciously clear it out. Make the decision. Get the thoughts away. Go back to thinking about absolutely nothing and focus on that one spot. After 4 minutes, it feels so much better in your brain and so much quieter and so much more focused. It's wild. And I've always been someone with a busy mind, a creative mind, that person with the internet browser open with 267 tabs open, 4 videos playing and somewhere there's a trumpet playing, like I'm sure you've seen that meme too. That's my brain a lot of times. But if you do that and give yourself a place to center your focus and recenter yourself, so to speak, man, it's so cool to do. So 4 minutes, set a timer, find a spot on the floor, a spot on the ground, a spot straight in front of you, stare at it 4 minutes. And when your thoughts start to come in and those intrusive thoughts start to show up, especially if those intrusive thoughts are about that person or that situation or that grudge or that negativity, push them back out. Give yourself the power and the ability to control your conscious thoughts. It's a really cool win-win situation when you do that, because all of a sudden now you're like, wow, I kept my mind clear. That thought tried to creep in and I said, nope, I need a clear mind for now. Got 3 minutes to go. Clear mind, go away thoughts. And the more you do that, the more you will exercise your mind and be able to push away the things when they show up. So even if you're not focusing on that one spot with a 4-minute timer set, if something comes crashing into your brain during the day that you don't want to think about because it's making you upset or it's making you angry or it's a waste of your good energy because there's nothing but negative, you can just push it out of your mind. And if you practice this, the more you practice clearing your mind, the easier it will get to push away those angry and ugly and negative thoughts. So that's something that really helped me. I hope it helps you guys as well. And as we close, my friends, please hear me when I say that I know difficult situations happen, and sometimes we need to stay upset for a little bit of time because we need to go through the situation and we need to feel it and let it wash over us. However, that feeling and that state of being upset and angry and frustrated shouldn't last very long. And now, there is no timeline, but when I say it shouldn't last very long, I mean it should not last once the thing is dead and gone and over. Once you've felt the feelings, once you've moved through it, once the smoke has kind of cleared, the dust has settled, so to speak, find ways to pick up and move on. And really, I hope you get to enjoy the freeing feeling that is just letting it go and saying that it doesn't bother you and you do not let it affect your positivity or your mood any longer. It's a really beautiful thing to do. Wherever you are in the world, my friends, I hope today brings you wonderful things. If it's nighttime where you are, I hope tonight brings you wonderful things. Be safe, be well. I appreciate you listening to this podcast and all your comments and likes and following me on social media. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. Wherever you are, please, please, please be well, take great care, and as always, thanks very much.
Thanks for tuning in to Todd Talk. If you've liked what you've heard, please go ahead and subscribe and follow along so you don't miss any updates or new episodes. Thanks very much and enjoy the rest of your day.